and gentlemen, good morning. Firstly, thank you all for joining us in person. Thank you to everyone joining us online as well. Welcome to the latest Azure Labs networking breakfast. This morning we're going to be talking about a topic which I think is one of the most interesting in the region certainly, but I'd even say in the world right now, and that is Saudi Arabia. And we're going to be talking about the very exciting developments, economic growth and opportunities available in the kingdom, and quite specifically how to expand and set up there. My name is Alistair. I am the head of sales here at Azure Labs for both our UAE and Saudi Arabia offices. And yeah, I look forward to meeting you all after and answering any questions you have as well. This morning we'll do a little bit of an overview about Saudi Arabia, the exciting economic data that's coming out of the kingdom. I'm sure we're all familiar with Saudi Arabia as a country. I'll also be introducing the value that Azure Labs bring from start to finish in terms of expanding into the kingdom. We'll be talking very specifically about the steps required to set up there, what's involved, documentation, taxes, a little bit about the fees as well. And then we'll move on to discuss some of the initiatives in the kingdom as well. RHQ, Special Economic Zones, which is the very latest update. And then we'll take some questions at the end. So, Saudi Arabia is very, very exciting for Azure Labs. Just to give you a brief, we have been operating in the kingdom since 2017. In 2017, the Saudi Arabian government allowed companies to be owned 100% by foreigners. Before that, you had to have the participation of a Saudi national. That is still the case with a handful of activities, but the majority of business activities can now be owned 100%. We have a strategic partnership with the Ministry of Investment in Saudi Arabia, and they are the main licensing body in the kingdom for non-GCC nationals. We have set up over 400 companies there and have watched them go from strength to strength. Saudi Arabia, as I'm sure we're all aware, is the largest oil exporter in the world. It has the second largest oil reserves in the world. It also has the 6th largest phosphate reserves in the world as well. So natural resources they are very, very rich in. They have the highest GDP in the MENA region, and in 2022, out of the G20 countries, they had the fastest growing economy. That growth has continued into 2023. In Q1, they recorded 3.9% economic growth through non-oil related activities, and that is a big focus for the kingdom, diversifying their economy away from being oil dependent into a more knowledge-based economy, and that is presenting a lot of opportunities for private companies to set up there. It has the largest population in the GCC, approximately 36 million people. The average age in Saudi Arabia is only 29. That's compared to the UAE where it's 33. And just to give you an idea of scale, the population of Riyadh alone is larger than the entire UAE. Why Azure Labs, and a little bit about what we do. I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with Azure Lab Value and our approach and the way that we do things. We're quite different to a lot of other people that just set up companies. We're much more invested in building ecosystems and ensuring that you have not only the setup completed, but you have the necessary post-setup support. And we do that through our related services, through our co-working services, we have personal concierge services, bank account opening services. We have a talent arm where we can hire people, both expatriates and Saudi nationals, which is mandatory, and we'll come on to that. We also have a programs arm as well. So we are not just focused on company setup, we're much more focused on scaling and growing your business with you as well. So a little bit about who we worked with and who we partnered with in the kingdom. You can see some quite big names there: PepsiCo, Latham Watkins. We've also worked with Kareem, Deliveroo. We've worked with Fresher, probably one of our biggest success stories, and numerous other companies as well. We employ as a company around 80 people split across both offices. Our team in Riyadh is around half of that, so we have around 40 people on the ground in Riyadh, as well as a huge co-working space, very similar to the size that we have here. We have expanded both in the UAE and Saudi, over 1,000 companies. We were founded in 2013. We are an expatriate-owned company. We're not locally owned. And yeah, you can see some of the numbers there in terms of partners that we've worked with as well. We have some major success stories as well in both Saudi and the UAE, and we will come on to those a little bit later. Again, a little bit more about us in terms of companies we've set up, countries we've worked with, and also industries. Here in the UAE, I'm sure some of you might be aware, we only work with, or we only can offer services to tech-enabled or technology-focused businesses. In Saudi Arabia, we don't have that restriction. We work with all types of companies, from construction to digital marketing to consultancy, you name it, we can help. So set up in Saudi Arabia, the process, and to give you an idea of the differences here in the UAE. Do we have any business owners here in the UAE by show of hands? Okay. So the setup process in Saudi is similar in a way, because here in the UAE, as you know, we've got over 55 active free zones. In Saudi Arabia, as a non-GCC national, you have one option, and that is to get licensed through the Ministry of Investment, commonly known as MISA. They were formerly known as SARGIA, and they license all non-GCC nationals in the kingdom. The process from start to finish is a 20-stage process. So it's a lot more elongated than the process you go through here in the UAE. As we've discussed, you can own the company 100%. No need to have any sort of local involvement or GCC national involvement. There are some requirements that you do need to comply with. To own a business in Saudi, generally you must own another business somewhere else in the world. They're not that friendly yet to people setting up fresh entities. There are a couple of exceptions to that rule. The general rule of thumb is that you must be a business owner elsewhere in the world. So the options through the Ministry of Investment, we have two options. If you are a startup, then you must have a company already registered, and that company can be anywhere in the world. But if you are a startup, and what we mean by startup means your company is not yet profitable. If your company is not yet profitable, you must be then backed by either a VC or a similar type of investor. So if you are in that category, then the general requirements are that you supply your existing company documents. Those documents need to be attested in whatever country it's registered by the Saudi Embassy and also Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Saudi. You need a letter from your VC investor or something similar, and you need a startup brief and pitch deck. If you're an established business, so you are profitable, you need to be older than 1 year. That's also a requirement. And again, similar documents are a requirement. Audited financials are a must, and you must be profitable if you're to go under the established business option. So those are generally the main requirements you need to comply with. Business plan is required on both as well. The process, as we touched on there, 20 stages in total. We break them down into sort of three main phases. Phase one is getting approval from MISA. That is actually the first step to entering into the kingdom, and that's where MISA will review your entire incorporation documents. They review the business plan very heavily, and there's usually questions and feedback that we receive from MISA on that. Once we have the MISA approval, we then move fairly quickly through the rest of the stages in phase one. So the name will be legally reserved. We draft and attest the articles of association. We then move on to issuance of what's called the CR, or commercial registration. That is your equivalent to a trade license, your equivalent to a certificate of incorporation. That is the document you'll be asked for most when doing business in Saudi. And once we have that, we then register the company with the Chamber of Commerce. We can complete phase one without you needing to go to the kingdom. We need to take a power of attorney from you. We will draft that power of attorney. We will have it attested for you as well. But no physical travel is required in phase one. Once phase one is complete, your legal entity is registered. We then move on to phase two. Phase two is a little bit more focused on labour, social insurance registrations, and issuance of visas for both the general manager and any potential employees as well. So the general manager holding a visa is essential. Now, the general manager can be an expatriate, no need to be a Saudi, but if you want to open up a bank account, if you want to move to phase three and be fully operational, it's mandatory you become a residency visa holder. Visas are referred to as iqamas in Saudi. Very similar process to the UAE. You have to travel. There is a medical test that will happen as well. Again, our team on the ground in Riyadh will coordinate all of that with you. We then register, once the GM visa is complete, we then register with a body called Zakka, and we register for VAT as well. Whilst we're on this point, taxes are a little bit different in Saudi Arabia. Corporation tax, which is now live here in the UAE, is a little bit higher in Saudi Arabia. It's at a rate of 20% on net profit annually. There is also what's called withholding tax. If you withdraw profits outside of the kingdom, you do have to pay withholding tax. The rate of withholding tax is actually based on the country you're remitting the money to. To the UAE, it's currently 5%. VAT is at 15%, although the Saudi government have committed to bring that down by 2025 to 5%. But let's see if that happens. Once phase 2 is completed, we then move on to phase 3. Phase 3 is very much the last stage of the process, and of course the bank account opening, which is essential for any business really to become fully operational. We move on to issuing health insurance for the GM. We then register with what's called Makin, Absha, Kiwa and Mudab portals. These are basically government service portals which you need to register for as a business. Again, our team will take care of this entire process. We actually only need you in person for the visa and the bank account opening. There's the only 2 stages we will accompany you in those processes. Everything else can be completed in absentee with the power of attorney that we will provide to you. From start to finish, it will take 3 months to complete all 3 phases. Phase 1 takes 1 month, phase 2 takes 1 month, phase 3 takes 1 month. If you want to look at our co-working space, please scan this QR code. There are some pictures there, we can send this to you afterwards. Now moving on to what's called the regional headquarters scheme. I'm not sure this will apply to anyone here today or watching online, but in 2020 the Saudi Arabian government have introduced policies that require international companies to move their regional headquarters into the kingdom. This is an ongoing thing. They have said, though, by 2025 that any international company not moving their headquarters will no longer allow to be operate in the kingdom. Let's see if that is actually enforced. But this is a big drive and a big focus of the government currently. Special economic zones is probably the hottest topic, certainly that we're facing questions on currently. In February, March of this year, the government announced that these 4 economic zones will become live. They are similar to free zones. You'll notice they're not called free zones because they're still not tax-free, but you do receive some benefits and there are some tax incentives for being set up there. These special economic zones are not yet operational, despite what you read in the media and despite what anyone else may tell you. They are not yet in a position to accept company registrations. We expect that process to be live by Q4 of next year. That's what we're being told on the ground. But there's a lot of publicity, a lot of media around these special economic zones currently. It's certainly, we think, going to help entrepreneurs set up in a little bit more of a cost-effective manner. And as we'll see on the next slide, these here are the economic zones dotted around all of the country. They are focused predominantly, to be honest with you, on logistics, computing, IT, communications. That's the activities that we've been informed that they're going to be centered around. Not yet sure if trading activities are going to be included here. There are some quite heavy restrictions on trading companies as well in the kingdom. If you are trading, so anything that involves import, export, any tangible products, there are some very harsh paid-up share capital requirements. Up to 30 million riyals has to be deposited by the business once it's incorporated, which a lot of businesses, I'm sure you can appreciate, are not willing or able to do. But yeah, trading companies are restricted in Saudi, unfortunately. Hopefully that changes in the future, but let's see. Tax advantages in the special economic zones are as follows. Corporate tax from 20% to 5%. We've been told you'll get a 20-year guarantee. For comparison, here in the UAE, you generally get 99 years or 100 years guarantee from the free zones. Saudi are only going to give 20. VAT will be at 0%, so we understand if you're doing business within those zones or outside of the country. And as well, customs duties look will be at 0% as well. Thank you very much for listening. I'd be happy now to take any questions anyone has.
Can we get the presentation?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, yes, from my side.
Thank you very much for the presentation.
My pleasure.
Quick question around the setup. If you're trading with products, I understand that you physically definitely need a local entity to trade with Saudi. If you're into services and you're dealing with local entities in Saudi, do you need a setup, or can you handle it from Dubai?
If those services are being provided from Dubai and you're not on the ground in Saudi providing them, then you could argue that would work. But again, withholding tax will come into play there. So if you're invoicing from a Dubai entity into a Saudi entity, there's withholding tax on that invoice, and it's at a bigger rate than just withdrawing profits, anything from 10 to 25%. So it's possible, but what we're seeing, the Saudi Arabian government are starting to clamp down on this. They want everyone locally registered, which is why they're making things easier and making things a little bit more cost effective to set up as well. So to answer your question, if the services are just being provided from here, then I think it would be okay for now, but we're getting into a space where I think that will be more and more monitored and policed.
And then linked to that question, as you're saying, it's going to ease down the road maybe with these special zone end of 2024, and maybe cheaper, more benefits. What's the current cost of these 3 steps for 3 months?
Absolutely.
All included, what the cost?
Yeah, good question. So our top package, so we have 3 packages that basically the level of assistance you want us for. So it's just phase 1, that's our basic package, that starts at 45,000 dirhams or 45,000 riyals. Stage 2, which includes the visa, includes the labour registrations, is 80,000. And stage 3, which includes the entire process, including the bank account, 115,000 dirhams or riyals. So yeah, significantly more than what you pay here in the UAE, unfortunately. We do offer payment plans as well. We're quite flexible on payments. Yeah, we're a big believer in breaking up the payments and easing that entry financially. Yeah.
General manager that you mentioned over there,
Yeah.
is that person going to get provided by you? Are you going to facilitate that?
General manager generally will be provided by the business, because that will be very much the person who's responsible for running the business in Saudi. They'll also have all the banking rights as well. So providing general manager is generally not something that we get involved with. If you want us to go and recruit a general manager for you, then yes, our talent division can do that for you. But just be aware that GM's got a lot of power for the company. Operates the bank account, can sign on behalf of the company. So obviously needs to be someone that you're...
So we could nominate one, it doesn't have to be a Saudi national.
No, not at all. Can be anyone. Can be a UAE resident, any nationality is okay, apart from Iranian actually. Iranians are we can't get visas for, but aside from that, yeah, no restrictions.
And following the same question on the general manager and kind of activity that we're looking at on the business aspect, does that general manager also need to be of that specialized education or license?
Generally speaking, no. Yeah, not really. No. Some activities require a degree for the general manager, but to be honest, that's very, very few. Doesn't need to be from that industry or background. You, as the business owner, you need to have a business in the same industry or background as the one you're looking to set up in Saudi. But the general manager, no, their background would be anything generally.
It doesn't have to be of the same graduation or degree.
No.
I see.
You mentioned that you have about 350 business establishments here. I want to know what are their business like and how they benefit from establishments.
In terms of business activity, or?
Yes.
Yeah, so activity-wise, to be honest, there's been a full range. We're helping a lot of construction companies set up there. I'd say that's probably the hottest one currently. But also then your services activity, digital media, digital marketing, and then your tech companies. So software development, application development, tech's also a hot thing in Saudi as well. And then communications as well. Trading activities, to be honest, we've not had a customer yet willing to deposit 30 million reals. So we haven't really done any trading companies, but if they were, then we would be able to do that as well. But construction and services activities are very hot.
Is there a way how to get away from the withholding tax by, for example, big brands like Coca-Cola
Yeah.
or Pepsi, whatever,
Yeah.
or Adidas,
Yeah.
they're doing this brand fee from branch to branch
Yeah.
to avoid this corporate tax or non-profit.
Yeah.
But of course we can do this, but then if I send from Saudi to Dubai, for example,
Yeah.
cash I have to pay this
Yeah.
50% on this brand fee, right?
Yeah.
Is there any way we can go around?
I think there are innovative ways you can be a little bit more efficient in terms of moving money around. But to be honest, I'm not qualified to give you an answer on that.
Okay.
I will connect you with an auditor. We've got many tax and accounting departments, but look,
Yeah.
there are ways to be a little bit more efficient.
Okay.
Yeah. Wonderful. Any more questions?
When it comes to people,
Mm.
if you want to have people working for you in Saudi as
Yeah.
freelancers, you can recruit them from Dubai without having a local setup for now, right?
So you want them to work for you in Saudi?
Yeah, you're getting some, if you identify some specific zones in Saudi Arabia,
Mhm.
looking for some salespeople, freelance, that you can recruit and then basically finding the right customers for you,
Yeah.
which can be driven to your company in Dubai, and then you pay commissions to these freelancers to
Mhm.
basically connect with these people to provide services.
But those people will be on the ground in Saudi, correct?
They will be on the ground themselves as freelancers in
Yeah.
Saudi.
See, then you're getting a little bit on the edge of needing to be legally registered there, because if you've got people on the ground, even promoting your products and services, as per the Saudi government, you should be locally registered. This is what they're saying. But if you're from yourself, if you're in Dubai and just researching the Saudi market or cold calling from here, then okay. But if you're on the ground in Saudi, the stance from the authorities there is you should be locally registered.
So basically what you're saying is as long as you run your business from Dubai and you're not locally acting on the ground
Yeah.
in Saudi, that's fine. And you can have people supporting you depending on what you look for. It could be digital
Yeah.
service agency, could be a salesperson,
Yeah.
but they're not working for your company, that's fine. But as
Yeah.
long as you have the fit
Yeah.
on the market, then this is where you're crossing the border.
Yeah, correct. And a lot of people use partners, use companies already registered in Saudi to drive business, and obviously then you'll pay a fee to them, etc., etc. But today, as we speak, yes, that model's okay. As I said, they're trying to bring more and more businesses into the kingdom, so these rules we expect will be tightened. Okay, wonderful. Well, with no further questions, thank you all very, very much. And we will send you all a copy of this presentation. And we look forward to seeing you again soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.